Hello guys, welcome to my channel for new battle report. The third and last game of the tournament CR9 number 12. You know this tournament because I've been playing it several times in the past and doing also battle report for these. So yeah, it's the last game. I won 15 and 19 my two first games, so I was pretty high on the third table playing against Reinhardt from Chile. And I was 2 points behind the guys in the top, so there were 4 guys in front of me. As it is for the tournament where you have only 3 games, you need a lot of points to go for the first spot. So I knew the situation before the game. If you haven't seen it yet, I recommend you to watch the previous video where I did a matchup analysis on this particular game. I think it's interesting to watch it before watching the battle report, obviously. So these are the list. Like I said, I made an analysis in the previous video. So we played King of the Hill on map number 7. This is my spell selection, so I went with Quicksilver Lash, big threat against his BSB, Word of Iron because I expected to do some combat. The same goes for Hand of Glory, needed for combat buff. Toxic Breath, which is also good because I expected my bull to be somehow hidden, and being hidden, he can still give the breath weapon to 12 inches and then use the breath with another model, so still effective even behind an impassable. The same goes for these two spells, still usable behind an impassable, so no big problem to use them, and I got Magical Heirloom. My opponent decided to go with Wrath of God, Trial of Faith, which is really good against the tank, End of Even, and Smite the Unbeliever as the single combat buff, and then the 2d6 from the Vermin Swarm, Hereditary. So yeah, to sum it up, like I said in the matchup analysis, he has 5 potential chaff, so which is quite a lot. 4 combat unit, 2 main unit, and then 2 support unit. 1 cowboy BSB, kind of cowboy because he will not be so far away from his line. He will still be between his line and trying to cover and counter-charge stuff. That's how I expected him to play it. You cannot go far away because he's the BSB, and obviously Vermin Swamp need the BSB. I have a higher number of threats than him, so my plan obviously was to at some point threaten flank and be kind of wide, or threaten from flank at some point to force him to make choice where he want to face with his block especially. And obviously I need first to kill chaff, deal with the support combat unit that are easier to manage, and also if I deal with the Hulk, then I can avoid being pinned down by Big Block and countercharged by Hulk. And then look out for combo charges against Big Block. I think that's the idea more or less. So deployment. If you watch my matchup analysis, I've explained 2 different approaches for this game. And in this case, my opponent won the roll for sight. So he picked top and picked the wall. And obviously I picked the wall as well, and I tried to go for the big win. So that was the idea. Considering the fact that it was a solo tournament, only 3 games, and that my only shot at winning the tournament would be a big win, I thought it might be interesting to try to rush him, be aggressive. Also very interesting to try as a training as well, because I didn't do it that often with ID, so I was also curious to see how I could be aggressive against such a list with so many chaff and very resilient block. So that would be an interesting game, definitely. So that's why I picked the wall and I dropped everything for first turn. So I did something, like I planned. So Incarnate on the left, chaff unit here with Vassal first, and then Slaves. A block of Immortal with the Adept. So obviously, since he has 2 Assassins, I knew that my Adept would be in danger, but with the 4 Proud Save, I decided it might be still good to have a Bodyguard within this unit, and I mean, if the Adept dies, it's not that horrible. The bull in a position to either go forward or hide behind Impassable on turn 1. I was free to decide what I wanted to do. The tank near the Impassable to form somehow a blocking zone where my bull could hid behind. And then here I have my Blunderbuss block with my BSB, Torque Anointed, the block of Vassal Levies, a block of Slaves, and then my opponent counter-deployed, so he put the 2 cannon in the back. I expected this cannon somehow to be more to the right, to, I mean, the shadow zone behind the hill is quite big, as you will see. I should be able to exploit that with the bull. That's what I thought when I saw the cannon position. I expected the hit to be much more to the right. That's also why I decided to put the slave on the far right, to force him to, if he puts a cannon on the far right, to force him to look that way, or the cannon be hidden on the middle game, so to say. So he put, as I expected, somehow the Hulk on each side, some chaff in behind, and then 2 blocks central of the deployment. He decided to go with this big spear block behind the hill. As you can see, it's quite defensive, because he could have the 18 inches until here, so he could have gone with the spear block up to here, and he was quite back. So I expected a quite defensive approach from him. When you see his deployment, he's quite back, except that unit, but the rest is really, I mean, this spear block especially is really in the back for the deployment stage, and then the BSB is in between, but still reachable for me. That was also a surprise. I thought, I mean, if you consider the Adept Alchemy is here, there is a hill here, I would have expected the BSB to be somehow here, to be hidden from Quicksilver Lash, especially on turn 1. That's something that I usually do. If you don't start the game, try to minimize a little bit what your opponent might do when he drops to start the game, because you know the range and the stuff and the movement, so you can somehow mitigate the damage that he might do with shooting, and in this case with magic especially. So let's move on to my turn 1. So yeah, like I've said, I have a very nice shadow zone behind the hill, which is really good, because the bull, I mean, if I play the game with the bull here behind, it's not that interesting. Here I'm very active, very close to the lines, so the bull might play a very interesting role, which is something that I didn't expect by facing the cannon, basically. But yeah, obviously the map helps, and also the deployment of the cannon. So then, what did I do? I marched the tank 10, and I'm able to find a spot outside of this cannon as well. So there is, with my 2 big monster, I have only 1 cannon hitting me on 3+, wounding on 4+ on his turn 1, which is not bad at all. On the right here I march as well, and here I move forward. Still being careful at the moment of what he can do with Hulk in the early stages. Here I march some of the unit. And yeah, that was it. So I was also careful that he wouldn't charge, and try to stay compact on the left. I made a mistake here. I should have used the Relentless turn 1 with the Vassal and march here to somehow force him to make choice, because either he would charge me, but then what could he do? And especially being here, I'm in the front of them, so making all the possible charges quite hard to do. And yeah, even if he tried to take some riskier charge, that would have been interesting for me to do. So I think I should have really marched forward to block forced choices, and then after, if he doesn't charge, I can still reform in Konga and do some chaff. So here I think I was too passive with the Vassal, not really thinking forward what my opponent might do in his turn 1. I didn't really watch the chaff carefully enough to see, oh, he could move that way and yeah, block me. So I think that was a mistake on the left with the Vassal. In the magic phase, I'm casting on myself a burst weapon, because I was able to see the gutter blade on the right, so that was cool. Then I will use it in the shooting phase and kill 4 of them, but he will pass the 7 rollable. And then I'm casting with 3 dice a Quicksilver Lash onto the BSB, and to my surprise, my opponent takes some risk here in the Dispel selection. He also uses 3 dice and just managed to dispel my Quicksilver Lash. And then, since he has more dice than me left, I will try some risky roll to try to force some spell, but I will just fail. But yes, big risk already taken on Quicksilver Lash turn 1, so that surprised me quite a bit. And obviously I have no shooting because the tank march. His turn 1, so yeah, he will take advantage from my mistakes on the left and pushes forward to chaff multiple unit. He gives a flank to the Incarnate, so and also I'm out of line of sight with the Immortal. I wasn't too careful about what he could do on the left with this aggressive position. I think I was somehow influenced also by the fact that he was pretty defensive in the back, and I didn't expect him to be so aggressive on his turn 1, and I wasn't too careful here. So yeah, some mistakes from my part. He pushes forward with the spears, but decided not to go on the hill to avoid me seeing him with bull, tank, immortal, stuff like that. So he decided to stay behind the hill at the moment. BSB also comes forward, still within line of sight of my mage, so I was surprised. And he moves also forward with the bell. So yeah, quite aggressive here on the left flank. And this unit just reforms and looks toward the bull just to, it gives me a very long charge, but let's be honest, I wouldn't take that charge. Even if I take the Hulk down, I mean, then there is 2 cannon looking at me with strength 10. This cannon at short range, I cannot afford to go for them. Yep, his magic phase, he had the card number 1, 6 dice against 4. He put with 2 dice a Trial of Face against my tank, so I decided to dispel that because, yeah, with the reroll of the hit, it's too scary that he might do too much to my tank, and I needed my tank to survive a little bit during this game, so I dispelled that one. And then to my surprise, he 4 dices the Wrath of God on the card number 1, which is a huge risk, in my opinion. But no miscast here, and the Wrath of God was casted successfully. So yeah, I think it's a big risk, because if he loses the bell on turn 1 like that, I mean, it's pretty much game over. I mean, it will be a very complicated game for him to lose the bell that way. So I was a bit surprised, but yeah, he gets the Wrath of God off. And the cannon hits wounds, did 3 wounds to my engine, so yeah, couldn't do anything against that. My turn 2, here you see the Wrath of God, so I didn't move too much. I charge with Vassal, gets an overrun in the flank of them, try to pin them down, to force some play, but I can't do much more to solve the situation. Didn't move that much on the left. Reform here because he had the one guy here left who is below my wing, to be able to shoot with a couple of model and deal with him, because I want to avoid a single unit to come and chaff me somehow, so I wanted to avoid that. So I decided to reform Blunderbuss to shoot at him. And then on the right, I marched with the 2 units looking at his flank. They didn't move that much. The bull looked the other way, just to cast some magic and be ready depending on what he decided to do. And yeah, that was it. In the magic phase, I cast a Mark for Doom onto the Doom Bell, try to put some pressure on his general, especially looking forward to later in the game. If he loses some wounds now, that might influence his decision with the bell. So I cast that one, roll a 666, which is miscast 5 because only 3 dice. I suffer nothing from the miscast, so that was good. And then I roll a 1 to wound onto his Doom Bell. So I did nothing with Mark for Doom, but I got an hereditary onto the left Hulk, which was nice to prepare the future combat between Incarnate and the Hulk. And his Comet didn't come down. I remember he tried to split his dice between Hereditary and something else, and I got still Hereditary off, so I was quite happy. The tank killed 7 of the Vermins in the big unit with the shooting and after-thrower, and then close combat I kill 4 of him, 1 left. I pursue, overrun onto the flank. I think I catch him, and I get in the flank to pin him down this turn. So that was the idea. And with shooting attack also I killed the remaining guy here. So I dealt with the Gutter Blade. That's already two chaff killed, which is not bad. His turn 2. So yeah, he counter-charge obviously the flank of my guys here with the Giant Rat, try to get pursue distance onto them. I could have been slightly more to the back expecting this, but I felt, with the flaming that these guys might give, and also the flaming that I gave with the Hereditary, I expected... I was not sure he was too happy to take this close combat, because it's still very dicey. It will be my magic phase, so I can influence the spell that I get off. I don't know. I could have been slightly more to the back, maybe, to make him think twice what he wants to do, maybe fail the overrun and then get me to attack at the same agility. That could have been also a possibility. This time he moves onto the hill with the spear. I think somehow out of arc of the bull. Yeah, I'm quite limited because of the position of the cannon of what I can do with the bull, so it goes out of my arc, but still I can see with both Immortal and the tank. And then he decided to march to block me with the giant rats. So giant rats basically make sure that if I charge in, I can get an overrun on 11 Swift Ride onto them, but still it's not so interesting as a combat for the 3 anointed. And then it also makes sure that I cannot charge in the flank of the spear, which is nice for him. And these guys move towards here because he sees the action is here on the left. So there was no point for him to waste time dealing with my unit. So he decides to move towards the left to just make sure that if I want to take some charges, he will get some counter charges on the left with the BSB and even the Bell, and the right maybe with the Hulk. So that's his idea. In the magic phase, he tried a faith onto my tank but fails. I think he tried with 2 dice and fails. Then he tries -1 resilience onto my tank. I let that off. I wanted to dispel another comet because I thought, yeah, if he casts another comet somewhere here, that might be too difficult for me. So I let the -1 resilience on the tank. And then his first comet, so I dispel the comet, and then the other comet comes down, and he wounds my tank 4 times. I fail all 5+ armor save, so the tank dies, which is a bit unfortunate. Rolled quite a lot of hits. I think big range did, I guess, 2 wounds to the bull, 4 to the tank. Like a good rank on the mortals, also killed quite a lot of blunderbuss, some slaves, and didn't do that much onto them, killed some of the vassal. And then in close combat, so yeah, with shooting he hasn't too much to do. Yeah, I tried to shoot at my incarnate but failed with the left cannon and the right as well, I guess. Yeah. And then in close combat, yeah, I put some flammable token, he kills me. There were only 2 guys remaining, so he can still pursue me, and he pursued me toward the incarnate and gets in contact with them, which was interesting. So my turn 3, if you see, end of the turn, I mean, I have no tank anymore, I'm depleted in my big unit, like Immortal and stuff, so I wasn't too confident at this point that I would be able to be successful in this game, because the tank was really important to do stuff like charge the tank here in the corner, charge the Immortal in the front, and then if he wants to counter charge with the Bell, the tank is protecting the unit, tank is safe in combat. That's not so interesting for him to go against the tank with these units that wounds him on 6 up. So yeah, I was already thinking about the possible combo charge, but then I have no tank anymore. So charging is not an option against the spear. What I do, I charge the flank of the giant rats with my vassals. I measured before, I was able to reform in a conga line, expecting a couple of casualties and to make sure that they cannot charge my anointed. So that was okay for me. I just needed to pass a restraint check on 9, no reroll, to be able to chaff them. So that was somehow a little risk, but I decided, since I was not feeling too good on the board, that I needed to take this kind of risk to try to put these guys back in the game. They march 8 forward to threaten the flank and slowly the cannon as well. Here in combat, because he overrun into me, my bull was able to reform out of arc of the tank and out of arc of the spears, still looking at the flank. And yeah, I let front charge for the Hulk, but I wasn't too concerned about them going against me. We'll see. I thought, with magic and stuff, I can still do things. And here I reform in a way to, if he charge my Immortal, to have some counter charge and be ready to fight against him. Yeah, that was it. And here you see, reformed just giant rats to look at me. So that was the situation after the movement. In the magic phase, I cast a Quicksilver Lash onto his BSB, and I have a good roll. I roll with 4 dice, decided to put pressure on him. I get an 11, and again, to my surprise, he takes some risk here and dispel with 4 dice, and just get an 11. So he just barely dispelled that one. No damage made by this kind of decision until now. Then I'm able to get an hereditary spell onto them, because affected by the Bell, I was on weapon skill 2, he was on weapon skill 3 of 2 death, and I cast an hereditary to hit on 2+, and make him hit on 4+, which was really nice. And then let's move on to no shooting. So close combat, I kill 2, he kill 1 of me, I pass the restraint check, I do the conga line, and here he did only 2 wounds to me, which was kind of surprising. So that's how much, that's 15, 16 attack on a 4+ battle focus, and then 3+, and then I save on a 5-up ward save. And with all of that, he did only 2 wounds to me, which was, I think he did like 4 and I saved 2. So he rolled really poorly, meaning I have still 4 incarnate with the champion, and I am reroll to wound, hitting on 3+ battle focus. So I did 13 wounds to him, he had only 1 guy left with 2 wounds. Auto break, and here I check my option. So I had either the option to restrain and look to the flank in case if he charges with the spear, but if I do that, obviously he has this unit to chaff me easily with movement 14, that's not a problem to chaff the incarnate. So not really an option. Second option would be to pursue, and with a roll of a 9 on 2 dice, I was in the flank of them, out of line of sight of the bell, which, yeah, it's very, very nice, and I can also catch the last remaining guy, avoid him too early, and yeah, getting in the flank of them on his turn. He's flaming, so it's easy to deal with them, and then I could reform on his turn and then charge. So very, very nice option for me. I pursue, but I roll a 7, so I just ended up here in the front, so he will be able to chaff me. Let's move on to his turn 3. He takes 2 charges. He gets the Hulk in on middle distance against my bull, but then the spear needed a 6 to catch the immortal, but he fails the charge. So yeah, that was good news for me, because still I was in danger of getting beaten. I mean, I still have a good number of high attack that are high quality, so I should be able to stick and then counter charge, but yeah, I would prefer to be active than passive, and getting him getting the charge would still be scary for me. So I was happy that he failed that charge. Then he moves himself to cover the possibilities, so move the BSB here to the side. The bell didn't move much, and he used giant rats to chaff my incarnate unit. He could have done also a choice here. If you see the position, he could have charged with the bell onto the corner of them, but he was afraid that with the Supernal I might just end up staying here and then getting counter charged by stuff and pinned down with the bell, which could be scary. The single Hulk didn't rally, continued to flee, and yeah, I guess that's it. So here in combat, and because of the spear position, he couldn't maximize more than 4 model, which was good for me. So magic phase. Let me see, I used the binding scroll on smite, so he had the big phase, like 11 against 7, and I decided I can't take smite because it's too scary. If smite goes off, if he tries to fall with 4 dice, and also if he casts another comet or stuff, that might be too scary for me. So I binding scroll the smite, I dispel hereditary onto the immortals, and then he gets Hand of Even onto the immortals, kill 2. And with the Wrath of God, again 4 dice, but luckily for him that was the card number 8. He gets a 666 onto Wrath of God, so I can't do anything about that. The miscast is 4 hits on 4+, and then the ward save, but he suffer nothing and get another Wrath of God off, so yeah, that was it. And the cannon on the left tried to shoot at the incarnate and misfire. So that was really nice for me, because there is 1 cannon less and it's a misfire number 1. So no shoots anymore, which open other options for my bull if I'm able to survive this combat. That's a kind of risky combat for both of us, because I mean, I have some quality attack, breast weapon and stuff, so he could even flee. I mean, if he loses combat, they have a leadership 7 of the Magister, rollable, and that's it. So they can even flee, and then I can get some free pivot and stuff, so that could be scary for him. So let's see, close combat, what happened. He did only 2 wounds to me, so that was okay. I mean, 13 attack on 4+, battle focus, and then 5+, and then I have the ward save 5+. So he did 2 wounds to me. I strike back with breast weapon, strength 4, AP 1, 5 attacks on 3+, and 2 attacks on 3+, 4+, and I did only 1 wound with that. So I was losing by 2, I had to pass a 7 rollable, and I passed it. So that was good for me. But then, I don't know why, I was very stupid. I decided to reform to the right, which was stupid because it brings 1 more Hulk in combat. I didn't want him to shift somehow because I liked the fact that I had the flank, but I should have stayed with the bull like that. I mean, there was no purpose to move to the right, so that was a bit stupid, and allow him to have 1 more Hulk in combat. So my turn, I have some interesting charges. So if you see, they can charge the flank easily, and also the conga line can charge the cannon, which was very nice, because if I charge the cannon, break him, I mean, then I can also reform and chaff the BSB and deal with the cannon. Then there is no more cannon on the field. So that was a very interesting approach. I had a 9 rerollable to charge here, but I failed. Here I get this charge off, and also the Incarnate decided to charge against the giant rats. To deal with the chaff, continue to deal with the chaff, and yeah, these guys get to the flank. So here, as you can see, I can get a very nice overrun onto the flank of the spear. So I decided to charge as well with the Immortal into the front. So yeah, that was going to be very interesting to see how I can deal with them. And also I'm starting to move forward with the blunderbuss. Here you see the Wrath of God is here. Magic phase. So I'm forcing +2 armor save onto the Immortal, because I thought, yeah, it's likely that he can countercharge with the bell onto my flank. He has not a lot of strength into this unit, so I need to buff the Immortal to be able to survive to the upcoming combat. Even if I'm in the flank, you never know what can happen. So I force with 4 dice, and I get a 666 and a 5, which is a miscast 6. Miscast 6, but I suffer nothing onto the miscast with my mage. That was the small mage, so I wasn't too scary about the miscast. And then I tried to put +1 ward save onto the bull, but he dispelled that. I'm trying also to put a pentagram of pain to heal the bull, but he dispelled that as well. And close combat, so I killed that unit and reform looking at the bell. This combat goes, he did nothing to me. So he had, the way it goes, I did first impact hit, I did the 2 wounds that killed the model in the back, which was good. So 4 model remaining, we strike at the same time, and he had to attack with 1 guy, I guess, to the flank and 3 guys in the front. And with the 3 guys, he did nothing against the bull, so that was very positive news. And with the rest, I did a lot of casualties. He has only 1 guy remaining that flees this way, and I pursue with both towards the left flank. And what I forgot to tell you, I guess, just checking my notes. No, that's not yet. So it's good, yeah. I'm overrunning onto the flank, so that was a good news for me. And also what I checked before is the way it goes. I can overrun in a position to give him a front onto the BSB. And then we solve this combat because we didn't fight yet. So the Anointed can strike again. I check the position, so I give a front onto the BSB for the counter charge, and then I put all my attack. I do quite a lot of damage, but not as much as I expected. He tried with the assassin to murder my mage, but I passed a single ward save 4+. So I'm fine. I tried to kill the assassin in return. I didn't manage to do so. I also strike to kill the champion, which was stupid because I wanted to avoid the challenge. I wanted to challenge him next turn with my champion, but I forgot that he could obviously refuse the challenge. So I should have put everything onto the unit, but yeah, didn't matter that much. So his turn 4, he charged with the BSB onto them. So I decided not to reform, to still give him a front, because I decided if I slide and he has a charge in the flank, that might be tempting for him to go. It's +3 combat res. Even if I do a lot, that might be interesting for him. So I decided to stay in the front and have 1 less Anointed striking at him. I think it was worth it, and also influence his decision to not charge me, but rather charge them. And yeah, the Hulk that was fleeing ended up somewhere here, blocking the charge of the bell onto my flank. I don't know if he would have taken it or not, but yeah, he wasn't able because of the flee. He continued to flee with the Hulk. The other Hulk fled off the table, and I don't know why he didn't decide to activate these swarms that were chilling in the back. I could have used them, at least prepare them for next turn. And here we have 2 remaining giant rats fleeing. From this combat, he took a lot of DTs and continued to flee. And that's it. In the magic phase, he rolled a 1 on the bell, which was huge because that meant no bell effect this turn. So yeah, I can do a lot of damage. That was quite huge. He tries to put End of Even onto my bull. He fails. He tried to put Trial of Face onto my general. I dispelled that, and he tries as well to do a hereditary onto him as well. I think fails, and then he puts a random -1 onto the immortals and does -1 resilience. The Comet comes down, but only hits Blunderbuss and the Slaves. And yeah, the way it goes, I had to pursue with both to free the space for the Anointed to overrun to the flank. So that's why the Bull is in this position. He had to pursue this direction. But I wasn't able to catch him with 2 Swift Stride unit against 1 non-Swift Stride unit, which was funny. So yeah, Comet comes down, kills a couple of Blunderbuss, couple of Slaves, not too damaging this time. And then close combat, yeah, also the Assassin here did 2 wounds to my Incarnate, so I have only 3 remaining Incarnate. And also that was quite stupid for me due to my reform. He was able to move back and move out of the arc. That was a bit stupid. I could have looked the other way up. I also wanted to avoid the chaff of the swarm, so I measured the 12. I think that was also one of the reasons of my orientation, but I could have done slightly more to the top, most likely, and still see him and possibly go for a charge. So yeah, that was it. Let's move on to close combat. So here he deals with me, restrain, I flee, and passes the restraint check. And this combat, this time I roll really well with the Immortal Battle Focus, and I'm able to kill like 15 total with all my attacks. I think the Anointed were not that good, but the Immortal rolled really well, and that's why I break him this time. He flees, and I decided to make him flee this direction, so I get some nice pursuit. I catch him, which is really, really nice and definitely a turning point in this game. My turn 5, I double charge the bell with Immortal in the front and Anointed to the flank, so that was really nice. I move the Incarnate onto the flank just to make sure that I can get the counter charge next turn. And also I move forward with Blunderbuss, so yeah, it's turn 5, I have 1 turn left, so that's my final chance to maybe turn 6. Also add some counter charge or stuff, protect my unit, give the BSB, and I was also able to move the Bull to the side because of, yeah, this cannon has the mid-fire, so now I can move freely to this part and give the ward save boost onto the Immortal if I can. A Slave move a little bit. I rally these guys, and I don't know why I decided to continue to face downwards, but I should have looked up to, because I still have a Relentless Banner, and that could have been helpful to, yeah, either attempt again a long charge against the cannon on turn 6, or chaff the BSB, do something rather than look back and save some, yeah, points. Don't know. Here I failed a charge on the cannon. Was a middle charge, quite easy, but I failed it, so yeah, disappointing, but that can happen. And Magic Face, I'm casting, so I have the big card, like 10 dice against 7. I was like, that is fine, it's a perfect timing to get a big card. So 4 dice plus 2 armor save onto the Immortal should ensure me to win easily the battle and most likely the game. And I get a 1-1 and something else, a 2-2 and a something else, which is a miscast number 1. So I was like, oh, that's the worst scenario, because basically it's now 6 dice against 7, and then after that he dispelled the ward save, he dispelled the heal, dispel everything, and I get a blank Magic Face, which is, yeah, it's really not what I wanted, but that can happen as well. So close combat. I get using the crush attack from the mage on 3+2+ onto the bell, but I fail to hit, and then rest of the attack on the unit, also I think everything onto the unit. He passes the 8, rollable to be steadfast, so that was okay for him. He's turn 5, he moves the BSB back to threaten me. Here you see what I mentioned before. If I was here, maybe with 15 I could have been able to chaff him. I think that was feasible. So yeah, that was stupid for me. He moved the cannon further away from me, still, since he had no shot, interesting shot. The Swarm is still chilling in the back, I don't know exactly why. He continues to flee with the Hulk. And here I rally my 2 remaining vassal, rallied a couple of turns before, which was nice, because not giving away too many free points. And yeah, also Comet came down. When was that? The Comet? The turn before? Yeah, I already mentioned that, yeah. So that was, I don't know how he killed these 2 guys. I don't remember, maybe with some kind of no shot. I don't know how they died, the 2 guys here. Never mind. So he Magic Phase. He tries to put a Trider Phase against my general, only with 2 dice, but gets a high roll, so obviously I dispelled that with all my dice. Then he tries with 3 dice to put Hand of Even onto my general, but tanks Magic Resistance 2, he fails. And then he puts -1 random onto the Anointed unit, gets -1 strength, which was what he was looking for. And close combat, I fluff completely. The assassin gets a perfect, kills 5 guys. The rest of the unit kills the 2 remaining immortals. The 1 remaining immortal. I have only the prophet surviving, and the anointed fluffed as well a little bit. And I had to test with -2, which was very surprising for me. But luckily I passed the 7 rerollable here and 7 rerollable here. So yeah, that was some test to take. So at least I needed to pass 1. If 1 unit flees, that wasn't the end of the world, but at least I needed 1 of the 2 units to pass, because I needed to pin him down. My turn 6. So I countercharge with the Incarnate, and now I should be fine to end up with this game. And also I countercharge with the Blunderbuss, because the space was free. There is only the mage here in this spot, so I was able to fit with the Blunderbuss here. So yeah, that should be enough. And also I checked the possible reform. I will be able to get these 2 units, if I deal with them, to reform and look at the BSB, and also be on the wall. So that's nice. The bull didn't move much. I charge again, 9 on 2 dice, fail obviously, and they didn't move since they were looking the wrong way. Magic phase, I try to put +2 armor save onto my Blunderbuss, it dispels that. I get a ward save, 5 up onto the Blunderbuss, which was nice. And then I also put an hereditary onto the Dumbbell unit, which was also nice to get. So close combat, I went to town with the Incarnate. I kill every member of the unit. He's in auto break mode. He killed a couple of blunder, I guess, but nothing too worrying for me. And then I was able to pursue with the Prophet, but yeah, he flees out of the board. He was pretty close, so he flee out of the board. Prophet moved forward quite a lot. I restrained with both, and they were out of combat. Yeah, that's it. His turn 6. He charged with the BSB against the Blunder, trying to break my Steadfast. If he does so, he might force some panic check on the Anointed and maybe save some points. So that's the idea. Close combat. So obviously, yeah, I challenge with my champion. He refuses. He attacks onto the combat, and he did only 2 wounds to me. So he uses Toxic Breath, but only wounds on 5+. Then I have the ward save 5+, which helps. And also, he wasn't too good in combat, because I mean the rat is not so good offensive skill. So he was, I guess, hitting on 4+, and the guy on top had Alchemist Albert. So it's only 3 attack. Hitting on 4+, like wounding on 3+, so not too much. So I only suffered 2 wounds, so I was able to pass my 8 rerollable Steadfast. So that's how we ended up the battle. Yeah. So it ended up being a 19-1 for me. I got a lot of points, both Assassin, the General, which is worth a lot, the Rat at Arms, the Vermin Guard, Double Giant Rat, Double Hulk, and Double Gutterblade. He took half of the Vassal that were in the bottom of the map. The whole unit of Immortals that died pretty fast in this close combat, to my surprise. And then he killed as well the Engine with the Wrath of God. And I got, obviously, the King of the Hill with the Wall. So that's a 19-1. Post-game analysis. So I think, yeah, in hindsight, if you see he won the side, took the wall, that's the only game plan that made a big win possible. Obviously, in a team tournament where I would have, regarding both lists, I would have expected something closer to a 10. And I would most likely have picked the Forest, playing more carefully. But yeah, because of the tournament, I think it was definitely worth it to go for the big win. Obviously, I was at risk. I mean, it's a risky plan. You saw at multiple times. I was not in a so good spot. We had both some leadership checks, so there is much more uncertainty with this kind of game as with a range battle where both of us play a bit far away from each other, definitely. But that was very interesting, also as a training to do it. As a Vermin Swarm player, I was a bit surprised from the game plan switch, because he was a good defensive spot behind the wall. I think the chaff ready, and then he moved. Already turn 1 forward, trying to be aggressive. So that surprised me a little bit. And Micro, him going for the kill on the bull with the right Hulk allowed me to be back in the game, because then it cascaded, it backfired against him very heavily. I mean, Anointed got 3 flank charge in a row, so that was way too nice for me. If he wouldn't have charged the bull and just moved slightly back with the hulks on the right, I mean, the anointed was still far away from the spear. That was a different situation. So I think here it gave me an opportunity to be back in the game with this decision to go for dicey combat. Yeah, obviously the 5 hulk could have killed my bull. Obviously they could have. But I think the risk was not worth it considering the situation at this particular point of time for the Vermin Swarm. The Ratatarms that broke at a key time for me. So yeah, that was, I mean, perfect. That's the problem with this kind of huge block as a rat player. You never know when they are going to break. So you need to be ready at any time that they could break, especially when they are engaged against so many attacks. The left vassal, I think that was my biggest mistake in this game. I did a couple of small mistakes, but this one was probably the biggest and put me in a bad position early on. I should have relentless turn 1 with the left vassal. Yeah, at least, I mean, the Incarnate can do a ton of damage against low armor. We saw that again. They did very, very well. It was a very important combat on the left against the Hulk. So, yeah, that's, again, a confirmation of their damage output. And I think a couple of regrets for my opponent. The cannon positioning, especially the right cannon, was not too good because allowing the bull to play behind the hill and play a huge role in the game was something he could have avoided. And also regarding the chaff use, I think especially the fact that the swarms survive until the end of the game, when you lose that big, it's disappointing because he could have at some point chaff something or prepared the chaff for something. So that was a bit disappointing for him. I guess it could have been disappointing of the use of his chaff because with 5 chaff, he could have avoided some combat, some charges at some point. So yeah, that's it for this game. At the point of time when I record this battle report, I don't know yet if it's enough to go for the first spot, but surely that should put me on the podium. We will see how it ends up. I will tell you in my conclusion video that I will most likely do. So thanks a lot for watching this battle report and talk to you soon on my channel. Bye bye.